3 days before you die, you will probably see someone who is already dead, and you won't be confused. That's the part nobody prepares you for. You'll know their name, you'll know their voice, you'll know exactly what they meant when they told you it was time. It happens in Buffalo, and it happens in Bangalore, to lifelong believers and to lifelong atheists, to people who spent 70 years insisting there is nothing after this, and who, in their final week, sat up in bed and had a conversation with their mother. Same window, same 3 days, across cultures that never touched each other. And after 20 years of watching humans die, the researchers still cannot tell you why the number is always 3. Remember that. We're coming back to it. By day 3, your body has stopped negotiating. You're barely eating, barely drinking. You sleep more than you're awake. Your hands and feet begin to cool and model as your circulation pulls inward, protecting the core, abandoning the edges. Everything is powering down in a strict, ancient order. Your body is closing, and your mind is about to do the exact opposite. In 2011, at Hospice and Palliative Care Buffalo, a physician named Christopher Kerr started doing something almost nobody in medicine had bothered to do. He began asking dying patients every single day one question. What did you dream last night? Not a survey, not a theory, just the question, asked daily at the bedside. The results were published in 2014. Of the patients interviewed, 88.1% reported at least one dream or vision. Almost all of them said the same strange thing about it, that it did not feel like a dream. It felt more real than the room, and they weren't random. Kerr has now sat with more than 1,400 dying people. The content repeats with a consistency that should not exist in hallucination. The people who show up are almost never strangers. They are the ones who once made you feel safe. A mother, a grandfather, a brother who died 40 years ago. Dogs, constantly dogs. Not the people who frightened you, not the ones who hurt you, the ones who protected you. And the patients describe the same 2 themes over and over. Someone has come to get them, and they are getting ready to travel. Packing, waiting for a ride, standing at a station. Your brain, in its final days, appears to organize itself around a single idea. You are not going alone. Now here's where you're supposed to say, it's just oxygen. It's a dying brain misfiring. It isn't. And that's the part that unsettles the clinicians. Delirium is chaos. It's fragmented, frightening, and patients can't recall it afterward. These experiences are the opposite, recalled in detail days later, described with total clarity and overwhelmingly comforting. The hospice teams see it so reliably that they now print it in the packet they hand families on admission, so that when it happens, nobody panics, and nobody sedates it away. It isn't a symptom, it's a stage. Then, somewhere in those last days, a lot of people get better. The appetite comes back. The energy comes back. Someone who hasn't sat up in a week asks for a specific meal or a specific person or asks to go outside. Families call relatives. They cancel flights. They say the words turned a corner. Clinicians have a name for it because they know what it is. They call it the surge. It usually means you have hours, maybe a day. But the surge is only the mild version. In 2009, a biologist named Michael Naum and a psychiatrist named Bruce Grayson gave a name to something physicians had been quietly recording for centuries without a word for it. Terminal lucidity. Here is what that means. A person with advanced dementia, someone whose brain tissue is visibly, measurably destroyed, who has not formed a sentence in 2 years, who no longer recognizes their own children, opens their eyes, and speaks, correctly, in context. In 2020, Alexander Bathiani and Grayson analyzed 124 of these cases. In more than 80%, the patient recovered verbal ability, memory, and orientation, not a flicker, a return, and it goes further than speech. In 2021, in work commissioned by the National Institutes of Health, bioethicist Andrew Peterson of George Mason University and gerontologist Jason Karlawish of the Penn Memory Center documented what families kept describing. It wasn't just that the person could talk again, it was that the person came back. The old nicknames, the old jokes, the specific private way they had always spoken to that one specific child. Peterson's phrase for it is the old self emerging. You don't just get the software back, you get them back. This should not be possible. Dementia is defined as irreversible. The neurons are gone. You cannot run a program on a hard drive that has been physically destroyed. Every model of the disease says the person is not in there anymore. And then, days from death, she says her daughter's name. So in December 2025, a team finally stopped treating this as folklore and ran the first prospective study of it. Led by Sam Parnia, researchers screened 1,768 patients across New York University Langone, Visiting Nurse Service Health and Bellevue Hospital. Of the 151 they were able to enroll, 61.6%, had documented lucid episodes. 267 separate events. This isn't a miracle. It's a majority. They found something else nobody expected. Triggers. The episodes clustered around music, around anniversaries, around moments of emotional distress, around changes in medication, which means this may not be random at all. It means there may be a door, and something on the other side of it that is still awake, still listening, and still answering to its own name. So what is actually happening? The leading explanation isn't that something switches on. It's that something switches off. Your brain spends your entire life suppressing you, filtering, editing, holding back the flood of memory and association so you can focus on the road, the meeting, the sentence you're saying right now. That suppression costs energy, and energy is the one thing you're running out of. Parnia's hypothesis is that the dying brain loses the machinery of restraint before it loses the machinery of experience. The brakes go before the engine, and what comes pouring through the gap isn't noise. It's everyone you've ever loved. Now the honest part. Almost all of this rests on what people report and what families witness. We cannot get inside the experience. The timing is loose. Karlawish found episodes happening months, even years before death, which means terminal may be the wrong word entirely, and we still have no mechanism, not a real one, which is why, right now, on National Institutes of Health funding, Parnia's team is wiring roughly 500 terminally ill patients, people with a life expectancy of a week or less, to video EEG machines inside their own homes, cameras running, electrodes on, waiting. For the first time in human history, someone has pointed an instrument at this exact moment. The results aren't in. They will be in your lifetime. So why 3 days? The honest answer is that nobody knows. There is no clock in your body counting down to 72 hours, but there may be a better way to read the number. 3 days is roughly the point where your brain stops spending anything on the future. No more planning, no more defending, no more holding the world at arm's length so you can function inside it. And when a human mind finally has nothing left to protect, when the filter drops and there is no tomorrow left to prepare for, it does not fill with fear. It does not fill with regret or unfinished work or the things that embarrassed you at 3 a.m. It goes and gets the people. Every study, every culture, every belief system, every atheist who swore there was nothing waiting. The same content, faces, names, someone at the door, someone who came back for you. That is what your brain does with the last free capacity it will ever have. Not one of us chose that. It was already in there. It was in there the whole time, underneath everything, waiting for the noise to stop. 3 days before you die, you will probably see someone who is already dead, and they will not be a stranger. They will be the person who made you feel safe when you were small, and they will have come a very long way through a door that should not open to walk you out. You are not going alone. You never were. Human.